Teoldi. Intanto vi porto anche i saluti del sindaco di Vimercate, che non può essere presente perché è stata indetta proprio contemporaneamente dal prefetto di Monza una riunione per quanto riguarda la problematica legata all'immigrazione, però vi porto i suoi saluti. Il mio sarà soltanto un breve intervento a questo evento che è stato patrocinato dall'amministrazione comunale ed è stato organizzato in collaborazione con Zero Waste Italy. Vorrei aggiungere anche qualche elemento riferito alla città di Vimercate per inquadrare un attimo l'ambito in cui noi ci troviamo a parlare. E un anno fa in Villa Bussi ospitammo un workshop su questo stesso tema con la presenza di Rossana Ercolini ed Enzo Favoino, e fu un pomeriggio molto proficuo perché chiudemmo la riunione intorno alle 8 di sera, per cui andò molto bene. E oggi mi fa veramente piacere di riprendere quel tema, quindi il centro scolastico davanti ai giovani e con la presenza autorevole del dottor Connett, che so che ci darà una vera e propria lezione dalla quale ovviamente sono qui per imparare, per migliorare il piccolo che possiamo fare a livello locale, almeno le buone pratiche, le buone e concrete pratiche della nostra azione amministrativa e dei cittadini. Il comune di Vimercate, che ha una popolazione di circa 26.000 abitanti con una superficie di circa 20 km², penso che non sia assente rispetto a questo tema. Ne ha sempre condiviso, ne condivide l'importanza e soprattutto ha aderito ad alcuni obiettivi come la strategia Rifiuti zero, con specifiche delibere del Consiglio Comunale fatte negli anni passati ma anche di recente. In sostanza noi pensiamo di dire di sì alla raccolta differenziata del riuso e no all'ulteriore sviluppo degli inceneritori. Ricordo soltanto che l'isola ecologica di Vimercate nacque all'inizio degli anni 90, è gestita attualmente da un gruppo di 5 organizzazioni, gruppi di volontariato di Vimercate stessa. Abbiamo la raccolta porta a porta da tantissimi anni e siamo in questo momento, come dato di raccolta di differenziazione del rifiuto, al 68%, con una quantità di rifiuti che è intorno alle 13.000 tonnellate anno, con un volume, un valore che sul bilancio è di attorno a 2.600.000 lire, 600 milioni, scusate. Io penso che noi dobbiamo lavorare soprattutto sulla frazione secca, che rappresenta ancora circa per noi qui il 25% di quello che è indifferenziato. Abbiamo anche istituito, il Consiglio Comunale ha anche istituito un gruppo di lavoro che si chiama Osservatorio Rifiuti Zero, che si riunisce regolarmente da 2 anni e il quale ha il compito importante, a mio avviso, di informare la cittadinanza, di creare qualche opportunità, di mettere in campo quindi quelle azioni in modo tale per cui ci sia maggior sensibilità da parte di tutti su questo tema. Abbiamo fatto alcune iniziative, soprattutto il vocabolario dei rifiuti, in modo tale che una persona, la famiglia sappia dove mettere un oggetto che magari in quel momento non sa dove posizionare. Alcune iniziative nelle scuole dell'obbligo, come l'imballo che sballo, per rendere coscienti i nostri ragazzi più giovani di voi evidentemente su questa tematica. L'ultima cosa è una convenzione che stiamo concretizzando per il recupero delle scarpe da tennis che possono essere consegnate dall'anno prossimo nelle scuole, che verranno riutilizzate da una società specializzata, e noi avremo di ritorno dei supporti antitrauma che metteremo, completeremo tutte le attrezzature, i giochi in tutte le scuole, in tutti i parchi, mettendo sotto, anche se le norme di legge magari non ci obbligano a farlo, questi supporti antitrauma. Naturalmente il Comune di Vimercate fa parte come socio di CEM Ambiente, che raggruppa circa 50 comuni per un bacino d'utenza di circa 500.000 di abitanti, perché questo è un tema troppo importante che deve essere gestito anche a livello sovracomunale. Qual è il futuro prossimo che ci aspetta? Anzitutto noi vogliamo arrivare alla tariffazione puntuale e per questo motivo abbiamo istituito un gruppo di lavoro che coinvolge 7 uffici dell'amministrazione di Vimercate che ha il compito nell'arco di questo anno e 2 mesi di espletare tutte le formalizzazioni, le iniziative tecniche, amministrative e informative sul territorio per arrivare a gennaio 2016 per fare in maniera che ci sia questo concetto più differenzio i miei rifiuti, tra virgolette, meno pago e più l'amministrazione pubblica, quindi ogni cittadino ha dei benefici in termini di ambiente, anche in termini di portafoglio evidentemente, perché costa smaltire l'indifferenziato, ma se c'è del recupero l'amministrazione pubblica incassa anche dei proventi dai consorzi come il consorzio Connett. Noi oltre a questi benefici naturalmente si punta ad avere un miglioramento delle tariffe diretto verso i cittadini, che in questo momento è difficile da quantificare. Concludo dicendo 2 cose. Una, che nei 10 passi verso rifiuti zero, che è il decalogo di zero waste, ci sono alcune cose che competono diciamo così, alla realtà locale, come per esempio organizzare la separazione della fonte della raccolta differenziata, che noi credo abbiamo, che funziona abbastanza bene, la raccolta porta a porta, che è un altro elemento positivo che abbiamo, la tariffazione puntuale che siamo impegnati a fare, quello che ho detto prima, e però ci sono anche delle cose che sono importanti come il riciclo, il riuso e il recupero dei rifiuti, dove bisogna organizzare in modo più sovracomunale, a mio avviso, dei punti in cui insomma, i cittadini possono riconoscere, perché ci vogliono anche, diciamo così, soldi per fare degli investimenti e i tempi sono ahimè abbastanza critici. L'ultima cosa, noi siamo qua al centro scolastico, un punto nevralgico importante per tantissimi motivi della città di Vimercate. L'amministrazione è ben felice di ospitare un centro scolastico di questo tipo. Qui ci sono più di 3.000 persone che giornalmente frequentano. A mio avviso su questo tema ci sono delle criticità, ve lo dico serenamente a voi ragazzi qui oggi, ci vuole la volontà comune insieme per andare a rimuovere le cose che ostano al corretto smaltimento dei nostri rifiuti. L'ufficio ecologia della persona del dottor Bossi è già stato qui diverse volte a discutere, ragionare insieme alle persone preposte per organizzare al meglio questo. Io chiedo veramente uno sforzo. Abbiamo avuto anche l'occasione con un gruppo di giovani di fare una lezione settimana scorsa in un municipio su questo tema molto specifico. Guardate, è veramente importante educarci a questo modus vivendi che secondo me è un qualche cosa per il quale poi ne beneficiano tutti. Io ho finito la mia introduzione, lascio volentieri la parola al professor Connett e ascolto attentamente le tue parole. Grazie.
See if they understand. Otherwise, I would be interrupting you all the time, and I would hate that. I mean, if you need help, okay. If they don't understand that.
Faccio solo una breve presentazione del professore, che per chi non lo sapesse ancora è uno scienziato statunitense di fama mondiale, professore in chimica generale e ambientale e in tossicologia alla St. Lawrence University, Canton, New York. Ha viaggiato in tutto il mondo portando avanti la strategia rifiuti zero, ha parlato anche alle Nazioni Unite e la sua specializzazione è proprio sulla pericolosità dei sistemi di smaltimento di rifiuti tramite incenerimento. Non rubo ulteriore tempo, lascio subito la parola al professor Paul Connett per l'illustrazione del decalogo Zero Waste, rifiuti zero.
Buonasera tutti. This is my 64th visit to Italy. I first came to Italy in 1996, and my second or third visit, I had a discussion with the mayor of Vimercate in Tuscany. And I was talking about zero waste. And he said, Professor Connett, the Italians, the most you can get is 25%, 25, raccolta differenziata. The most, because the Italians took it. It's the culture. It's the culture. The next day, I came to Parco Monza and met Enzo Favorino, who took me to the community of Balesco. And that community then, in 1996, was getting 73%, 73 raccolta differenziata. So, and this was being organized by the local church group. It was a volunteer operation. And I said to the organizer, I said, yesterday I was told the Italians couldn't get more than 25% raccolta differenziata. But here, you're getting 73%. What is the secret? And he said, never let anybody tell you that this is difficult. Do you want to translate that? If you can't understand, would you wave your hand, please? Okay, you're okay with it?
So they're fine.
Yeah, okay.
They're fine.
So, and that's it. This zero waste is not a complicated solution. The complicated solutions is incineration. Incineration is very, very complicated from a mechanical point of view and from a chemical point of view. To control all the emissions from an incinerator is very complicated. But organizing people to separate is not complicated. Now I understand you have seen this movie Trash with Jeremy Irons, the host of the movie, and I'm happy to tell you that Jeremy Irons wrote the foreword to this book, The Zero Waste Solution, and I hope that you can get a copy for your school here. But the subtitle of this book is Untrashing the Planet One Community at a Time. So you saw the movie Trashed, and this book is saying how we untrash the planet. But it has to happen one community at a time. And why? What's the big issue? The big issue is sustainability. Sustainability, moving towards a sustainable society, is going to be the biggest challenge of your lives, of your future. The movement from a throwaway society to a sustainable society is going to be extremely difficult, but absolutely essential. Right now, we would need 4 planets, maybe 5 planets, if everybody consumed like an American. And we would need 2 planets if everybody consumed like a European. And meanwhile, India and China are copying our consumption patterns. I'm going to China next month to talk about zero waste. So clearly, something's got to change, and we've only got 1 planet. But we're behaving as if we have many planets. So something has to change, and I believe the best place to start that change is with waste. Because everybody, except the very, very poor, makes waste every day. Everybody makes waste every day. And all the time that we are making waste, throwing things away, we're part of a non-sustainable way of living on our planet. But with good political leadership, and I think you have one in your assessor here, with good political leadership, we can all be part of the beginning to fight for sustainability on our planet. So I'm going to talk about the 10 steps to zero waste. But I want to do this in a slightly different way than I've done it before. I want to show you what's happening around the world. Many places now are attempting this one or more of the 10 steps. And Italy is one of the leaders of this movement. The two of the most important places for zero waste are California and Italy. Italy is certainly leading Europe with zero waste. It's very exciting. Italy is a very exciting place for zero waste. Other countries are now copying Italy. So step one is source separation. It's these 10 things which make waste. But it's these 10 things which can unmake waste. We make waste by mixing. If you mix everything together, you've got waste. But if you separate, then you've got resources. And I was very happy to hear the assessor talking about what to do with gym shoes, because that's a rational question. A rational question is, what do we do with gym shoes? What do we do with plastics? What do we do with tires? What do we do with this? These are rational questions for which there will be rational answers. But for over 100 years, we've asked an irrational question. And the irrational question was, what do we do with waste? How do we get rid of waste? And there's two irrational answers. One is you put it into a hole in the ground, or you burn it. You bury it or burn it. There's no rational answer to the question, what do you do with waste? You just get these bad solutions. You either bury it or you burn it. But if you break it down and say, what do we do with paper? What do we do with glass? What do we do with metals? What do we do with plastics? What do we do with X, Y, and Z? Then you have rational answers. And one of the rational answers is, we shouldn't have made that product in the first place. So, step 2 is door-to-door collection. Porta a porta. And we start with San Francisco. San Francisco has this system with 3 different containers, one for all the recyclables, one for all the compostables, one for the residuals, and these are picked up once a week. A very simple system. But I think Italy has a better approach. In Campania, in Tuscany, they have used the same trucks to pick up different materials on different days. On Mondays, to pick up the organics, the compostables. On Tuesdays, the mixed recyclables. On Wednesdays, the paper. And as I was driving here from Milan airport, I went through a little town where you saw the white containers, and that was clearly picking up the paper. So you're doing similar things in this area. It's an elegant system. And when they started this in Campania, it immediately saved money. It was cheaper to do it this way than collecting mixed waste. Now Spain has copied this. The Spanish call this the Italian method. The Italian method. And the first place they copied this was in Hernani, in Basque country. And here, again, you see the different materials are picked up on different days. And they introduced a novel idea Instead of putting the containers on the ground, they put them on hooks. And each of those hooks has a number. And each household has that number, and that's on each container. So here you see the organic fraction. Frazione organica is hung up there. And here you see the number. Hero 1870, and on this container, you probably can't see it, it's 1870. So each household has a number. And if you don't have a wall, you can do it on posts. This is a very tidy system. Now, in Castelmonte, in Sicily, it's a town with a castle in the center, and the streets are very narrow, and they are using donkeys, Ragusa donkeys, to collect the recyclables.
Donkeys.
And there are many places which are trying to save these animals, and some of them just save the animals, but here they're using the animals. Now, there's a very exciting aspect of this. First of all, the citizens love these donkeys, and the tourists love the donkeys. They feed the donkey, they pet the donkey. But the really exciting story is that this man here was an alcoholic, and he missed many days of work because he was drinking. But since he's worked with these donkeys, he's a completely reformed character. He talks to the tourists, he loves the animals, and he hasn't missed a day of work since. And I think this is a very interesting metaphor, because we are not just talking about saving resources with zero waste, we're talking about saving people. People need jobs, and there are many, many jobs in different parts of zero waste. In Wales, in the UK, they have slow recycling. In Italy, you have slow food. In Wales, they have slow recycling. And they have these vehicles which are split up into different modules. And it's very convenient for the citizens. They put all their materials in open boxes, and then the workers pick up those boxes, hook them to the side, and put the different materials into the different compartments. And this is slow, but they get very high quality materials from this operation. And it doesn't have to be as expensive as that. In Preston, Wales, an operation called Connett, they've used an old milk truck, electric milk latte truck. And they do the same thing. They go around the streets and they pick up the containers, separate them. And they have a very interesting way of enforcing this. The town crier. Oh yay! Oh yay! The people on the street down there, they are not separating their waste. And there's an exhibition of the people that are not separating their waste.
Public shame.
Public shame, yes, it's very embarrassing not to separate your waste in Preston, Wales. Now in Brazil, where I was a few weeks ago in Brazil, like many South American and Southern countries, there are literally thousands and thousands of people earning a living separating waste from in landfills. Very dangerous, very dirty. Whole families separate materials from the landfills. But in Brazil and in Colombia and Argentina, these waste pickers are being organized into cooperatives. They are being respected. We are recognizing that they're doing a valuable job, but a dirty and dangerous job. So the idea is to involve them and to make it safer for them and to make it better for them and better for us at the same time. So these cooperatives, now they're called catadores. Catadores, they are allowed to go door to door water and get a clean recycling. Not pull them out of landfills, but to collect them door to door. And they have special little vehicles to make this less backbreaking. I think these are electric vehicles. So that's Brazil. Step 3, composting, compostage. Now you can do this composting in your backyard. You can do it in the community, or you can do it in a centralized composting facility. Here's an example of community composting. In Prestine, Wales, they collect the organics, the compostables from each household, and then they have a composting operation, and the volunteers use the compost on their gardens to grow fruit and vegetables for the whole community, share it with the whole community. Now in Anani, Spain, they also have community composting. So they have this kind of setup by blocks of apartments, flats. So they share the responsibility for composting, community composting. And meanwhile, the citizens are doing a wonderful job separating the clean organics. So if you're going to collect organics and you want to use them for agriculture, you've got to get them clean. Because the farmers don't want to use dirty materials. They don't want glass, they don't want plastic in the organics. And here in Anani, they are getting 99.76% purity. And so you can imagine that this is gold for farmers. This is great material for farmers. Now over in San Francisco, they also recognize that in this big city, that the place where they're going to get the most organics is restaurants and hotels. There's a lot of them in San Francisco, a big tourist city. So it's 25% cheaper for the restaurants to put out containers of clean organics than mixed waste. So there's an economic incentive. And also, the municipality sends out people to train the kitchen staff to put the right material in these green containers. Again, because they know that this is going to go to farms. In fact, the composting facility for San Francisco is surrounded by farms, and the farmers are glad to use the compost to grow fruit and vegetables and produce wine using this compost. So 200 vineyards are using this compost produced from San Francisco's waste stream. Step 4 is recycling. Up to step 4. In San Francisco, here's the recycling facility. It's on Pier 96. You can see San Francisco in the background there. And this is a close-up of the facility. Here are the separation lines. And here is a close-up of the workers. Now here's another interesting economic aspect of San Francisco. The company, the waste company, or actually resource company, that has the contract to collect the waste, owns the composting facility and owns the recycling facility, but does not own the landfill. So they have every reason to maximize organic collection and recycling. There is profit for them. Whereas everything they send to landfill is costing them money. So again, the economic incentives are for this. The other thing is, these workers own the facilities. This company, Ecology, is a worker-owned facility. So these jobs, these people are not only doing important work, but they're benefiting economically from it as well. Not just the jobs, but the profit is also being shared. Now in Brazil, you saw that the catador catadores had access to recyclables, also the catadores are operating the materials recovery facility and getting the valuable materials. And here they are. This is plastic here, and these materials are sent to market. So again, we're not just generating jobs for the catadores, they have an economic stake in this whole operation, which is important. This is very important because they actually earn quite a bit of money picking the landfill. And it's not enough just to give them a job. You want to make sure that they see the economic benefits of making this operation. Was it?
No, il professore voleva dire che le discariche non appartengono alle cooperative dei lavoratori, per cui praticamente più riescono loro a riciclare, meno roba mandano in discarica, più ne guadagnano. Poi queste cooperative appartengono ai lavoratori stessi, per cui tutto il guadagno possibile è loro, c'è un beneficio economico oltre che tutto il resto, e poi come dicevo prima, se tu dai lavoro alla gente, dai loro anche la soddisfazione di fare qualcosa che sia solamente loro.
And like the Italians, I love the Brazilians because they have a passion. There's a conference with 500 catadores for zero waste, Rifiuti zero, passione. I like that. I like the vino rosso, I like the passion. Step 5, reuse and repair centers, which I hope in the future will become community centers. The opposite to overconsumption, where life is consuming objects, is community, where life is built about human relationships. Okay, so here in Berkeley, California is one of the oldest reuse operations in the United States. It's been running for 30 years, urban ore. It grosses $3 million a year, and there's 37 full-time, well-paid jobs in reusing materials. Here you see some of the materials being sold to the public, and particularly building materials, doors, porta. You want a toilet bowl, go to San Francisco. And over on the other side of the country, in Vermont, there's a company called Resource, and there they are taking people off the street and teaching them to repair large appliances, small appliances, electrical goods, and computers. And after 9 months, they give them a certificate and they help them to get a job. Again, saving people, not just saving resources. And this company is also linked to deconstruction. This is where you take a house or a building down in the opposite direction it went up. So you start with the roof and you work down to the floor. And they're saving this material, and in some cases, the material can be used again to make furniture. So the wood from these buildings may be made into beautiful furniture. This is what we call value added. Now in Gothenburg, Sweden, they have a wonderful reuse operation. This is my favorite. They made it fun. When you go into this park, this resource park, there's a band playing, welcoming you to this park. And then when you go around, there are clowns to entertain the kids. And then when you go to the toilet, it's an art gallery. And you can choose a painting whilst you're sitting on there doing a thing. But my favorite is this. This is the famous separating dog. This dog can separate mixed recyclables into 6 different categories. So if a dog in Sweden can separate into 6 different categories, surely we can get all our politicians separating into 3.
No offense, man.
No offense, man. No, not in person. Just if a dog can do it, we can do it. Okay. And here is the very exciting director of this park, Paul Mortensen, is giving his T-shirt of the park to the King of Sweden at the big conference in Rio a few years ago. So now we get to step 6. And step 6 is waste reduction initiatives. And just a few of the reduction initiatives going on around the world. In Ireland, the government put a 15-cent tax on plastic shopping bags, the big ones that you get in shopping malls, the big heavy-duty plastic ones, 15 cents. And after 1 year, the use of those bags went down by 92%. Extraordinary. Nobody believed that that was going to happen. A few weeks ago, in California, California became the first state in the United States to ban single-use plastic bags. Banned completely, single-use plastic bags. And in America, environmental, good things on the environment always happen first in California, and then they spread across the United States. So this is a very good sign. And there are several countries which have banned plastic bags. Bangladesh, for example. Why? Because in Bangladesh, they have a lot of flooding, a lot of water, and these plastic bags clog up the drains, and they make floods even worse. So there are several reasons why we need to ban these throwaway plastic bags. In Ontario, Canada, for 60 years, they have been reusing glass beer bottles. And these beer bottles go around 18 times before they have to be replaced. And they are collecting in Ontario, 98% of these bottles are being reclaimed, collected. It's saving the company money, and there are 2,000 jobs involved in the collecting and cleaning of these bottles. And it's no cost to the municipality at all. So this is a zero waste company which has been going on now for 60 years. In Italy, some supermarkets allow you to refill your own bottles with things like shampoo and detergents. But my favorite place in the whole of Italy is Efficorta. This is a food store in Capanari. Now they have one in Ferrara and in Milan. Yeah, Milan, Efficorta. And when you go into the store in Capanari, there are 60 taps, 60. You can refill your own detergents, your own olive oil, acqua, latte, mielo, beer, bieri, and my favorite, vino. And you go into the store, you get your glass, and you go to the first tap, and very nice, very nice. And then on the wall, it tells you where the wine is produced, and then you go to the second tap, and very nice, and then the third, and then the fourth. My favorite place is one. And you have heard the name Rossano Bellini. He's a primary school teacher. He organizes most of my trips. He won the Golden Prize for the environment last year, the first Italian to win that prize. But he's a primary school teacher, and these are some of his children, and he's made sure that they are drinking tap water, not bottled water, and he's got rid of all the plastics. So there's no plastics, you've got glass, you've got ceramics, you've got stainless steel, and these materials can go round and round and round. And yes, you have to wash them up, which means more jobs. means you've got to go back to the idea of having washing machines and kitchen stuff, not just throw away plastics. And in Campari, they have zero waste babies. This is a reusable paneling, reusable, not disposable. In step 7, economic incentives, the pay by bag system, pay as you throw system. And the way this works is that there's no surcharge for the compostables, gratis, no surcharge for the recyclables, but the residuals, the more you make, the more you pay. So this is a disincentive to not recycling and not composting. And it's very effective. In Italy, for example, some communities have been able to go from seconda raccolta differenziata to autocinque, just by adding on this pay by bag system. And there are different ways of organizing this, some more complicated than others. See, for partnering, they have a chip, a certain chip in the bag, and this is used to weigh, this records the weight for which you're charged. But in Seattle, in Washington State, in the United States, they have a simpler system. They say to people, you can choose the size of the container for the residual fraction. You can choose a small one, you can choose a medium-sized one, or you can choose a big one. But the bigger that you choose, each month you're going to pay more money. So this allows the citizens to say, I'm not going to make much residuals. I'm going to choose the smallest container and spend the smallest amount of money. Economic incentives work. They are very effective. So that's the first 7 steps. And now, and for those first 7 steps, we know that some communities can get 80%. Here, up to this point, we can get 80%. Maybe more as we introduce more waste reduction initiatives, but 80%. But we talk about zero waste. So what do we do now on top of this to get closer to zero? And the answer is step 8, which is the most important step if you want to get close to zero. And it's already been started in Nova Scotia, in Canada. And that is a separation, a residual separation facility. And this is built davanti discarica, in front of the landfill. So this is outside Halifax, in Nova Scotia. Here's the landfill. There's the residual separation facility. And please note that the trucks can only go to the separation facility. They can't empty directly into the landfill. So this is important because it gives you an extra security. In the land of the mafia, you don't want trucks going directly into the landfill, because that's the way you get hazardous waste put into your landfill, and that's what made life horrible for people in the Naples region, where hazardous waste was taken from all parts of Italy and put into municipal landfills illegally by the mafia, and produced a horrible situation. Horrible situation. Okay, so here's a close-up of the facility. In that first building, that's where the trucks arrive, and that's where some separation takes place. The second part of the building is where there's composting. Then in the back, that's where the compost is allowed to what we call cure. It sits there before it goes to the landfill. So let's look at inside the facility now, step by step. The bags come in, the recyclables, residuals. The bags are opened carefully without crushing what's inside. These go onto some conveyor belts, and well-protected workers pull out more recyclables, more toxics, and the dirty organic fraction, the kitty litter, and the dirty food, soiled paper, diapers and so on, not touched. That goes all the way to the end of the conveyor belt, which is here, between the two buildings, goes there. And then it is shredded. This material is shredded. And the shredded material, which is a lot of mixed packaging, paper and plastic packaging, and diapers, etc., 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 that goes into these troughs, and a machine runs down the trough and mixes the material, aerates it, brings air in, and after each day is shifted about 10 feet down, and after 18 days of composting, it's ready to go out into the curing pads before it goes to the landfill. Now the object of this composting is to stabilize the material above ground, so when it goes into the landfill, it doesn't cause the problems underground. So you reduce the odor, you reduce the methanol production, you reduce the leachate. And there's the landfill. This is what it looks like at the end, and they're doing a very good job of stabilizing this organic fraction. Now, into this facility, we're now looking more to the future. We would like to see a zero waste research center. And in this zero waste research center, we would be studying the non-recyclable fraction to make that visible. Now, this is the big difference between incineration at this stage and residual screening and research facility. What incineration does is to make the residuals disappear. That's very convenient. The residuals are bad industrial design. The stuff that ends up here has been badly designed. And so what we want in zero waste is to make this bad design very, very visible, molto visibile, because these are our mistakes. And we need to use our professore and studenti to study our mistakes. Maybe some of you will one day work in one of these research facilities. This is the laboratory for sustainability, to study our mistakes and come up with better design. So the Residual Separation and Zero Waste Research Centre is where community responsibility and industrial responsibility come face to face. And we in the community have to say to industry, if we can't reuse it, if we can't recycle it, if we can't compost it, then industry shouldn't be making it. We need better industrial design for the 21st century. And so step 9 then is better industrial design. Now I would like to see this research facility centered in 2 parts. I would like the research on bad object design, product design, in the reuse and repair center, because that's where people will be repairing objects, and they will see which ones are badly designed, and so we can study the objects there. But the packaging, the bad packaging, we study in the residual separation, because that's mainly going to be packaging. The first person to talk about zero waste anywhere came from Italy. The first person to talk about zero waste. Some of you may have seen my talks on YouTube, but does anybody know the first person that talked about zero waste in Italy? Anybody? It wasn't Rossano Baccarini. No. It was Leonardo da Vinci. 500 years ago, Leonardo da Vinci, in his writings, said there's no such thing as waste. Now, why did he come to that conclusion? Well, if you look at Leonardo's inventions, you'll notice that many of them copy nature. The flying machines were copying the wings of birds. So he was a great respecter of nature's designs. And he must have realized that nature makes no waste. Nature recycles everything. So we need to copy nature and make no waste. So we need better industrial design. And Italy has some of the best designers in the world. You have for years. You have some of the most creative people. For 2,000 years, you've had the most creative musicians, artists, scientists, engineers. And today, a lot of that creativity is in design. The world, you're famous around the world, Italian design. So the challenge now is to design waste out of our system. That's the challenge to Italy. And everybody else, but I think Italy can lead the world. And then finally, step 10 is an interim landfill for the biologically stabilized dirty organic fraction and the non-recyclables. And of course, our aim is to keep reducing and reducing the amount that goes to the landfill until there's very, very little. And we do it with all these steps combined will reduce how much waste has to go to landfill. Now, what I like about this program is it begins with everybody. Everybody has these 10 things. Everybody's involved in step number 1, source separation. And door-to-door collection, everybody is involved in that. But by the time we get to steps 8 and 9, we are challenging the brightest minds in our society. We're challenging our professors, our students, our industrial designers. And we need to do that, not just to get to zero waste, but to link with other aspects of sustainability. As I try to indicate, it's worth struggling to get to zero waste because it's a key step towards sustainability. And we need to link to other things like sustainable agriculture, which is, the link of course is composting. Composting feeds into organic agriculture. No pesticides, no GMOs, and deconstruction and reuse feeds into sustainable architecture. And we also feed into sustainable community development, etc., etc., etc. We need to make those links. So summarizing, zero waste is a combination of community responsibility, the 3 R's, reduce, reuse, recycle, and of course don't forget composting is included in recycle there, the 3 R's. And then industrial responsibility is the 4th R. Can anybody suggest what the 4th R might be? What is the 4th R that we've talked about in these 10 steps? The 4th R. Yes?
Recycling.
What?
Recycling.
Recycling? Now we've already got recycling, so we want another R. But good, first chance. First good effort. Next one. Yes, did you blink there?
Redesign.
No, scratching is here.
Resign.
Yes, redesign. That's industrial responsibility. So, see how simple it is to say, what's zero waste? Zero waste is reduce, reuse, recycle at the community level and at the industrial level, redesign. Whatever we can't reuse, recycle, or compost, then industry has to redesign. That's the whole lot. There it is. Very simple. Now, how close are we getting to zero waste? In San Francisco, population 850,000, very little space. By 2000, they had reached 50% raccolta differenziata. By 2011, they were up to 80% ottanta raccolta differenziata, and their goal for 2020 is zero waste or very close. In Flanders, the Flemish-speaking part of Belgium, population 6 million people, they are up to 73% ricalto differentiato. They're doing everything that you can think of. Well done, Belgium. In Italy, wait for it. Let me ask you a question. How many communities in Italy do you think have reached sectanta, 70%? Ricalto differentiato. How many would you guess? Anybody? How many communities are reaching 70% ricalto differentiato in Italy? 500? What's it? 100? Any more? More guesses?
1,000.
1,000, you're right. Over 1,000 communities are achieving 70% recycling, ricalto differentiato in Italy. How many are getting 80%? 300 are over 80%. And a few are over 90%. Yeah, I know, it's near Venice. And the other thing that's remarkable about this is that they are reaching these numbers, these unheard of ricalto differentiato, very quickly. For example, Salerno, which is near Naples, went from 18% to 72% in just 2 years. So Italy is leading the world on this particular issue right now. Campari became the first time in Italy to declare a zero-waste strategy in 2006, and the first community to declare zero waste in Lombardia.
Vimercate.
Very good. Bravo. And of course, when Campari declared zero waste, we had to celebrate. So, this is, guess who this is? This is the mayor of Campari, Giorgio, near Giorgio, and this, of course, is Rossano Collini, celebrating Campari. Now, how many communities in Italy do you think have declared a zero-waste strategy? How many? 200. No, I wish. No, 200. 200 communities. As of this year, 200 communities have declared a zero-waste strategy. So, summarizing, this plan, this 10 steps to zero waste, is better for the economy because it produces more jobs, many more jobs, than either landfills or discarica or incineratore. It's better for our health because less toxics, air pollution, etc., less toxic. It's better for our universities because it's more meaning for students to be involved in a really important social issue, and it's better for our planet because it's more sustainable, and finally, it's better for our children. This plan is better for our children because it offers more hope. And now you probably have experienced this. It's a pretty depressing place to live on this planet right now, because every night on television we're telling our children about global warming, ozone damage, the loss of forests, rainforests, the loss of species, plastics in the ocean, toxics in our babies when they're born, running out of resources, running out of energy, out of oil. I mean, what does a young person think? I mean, when I was a young student, I wasn't told about these things. I wasn't told that there wasn't much future for me. And I just feel that unless we offer hope to the next generation, unless we can give them some kind of plan, it's going to be 1,000 times worse. However difficult it is to reach sustainability, or even approach sustainability, however difficult that is, it's going to be 1,000 times more difficult if people lose hope. So I think that this agenda of zero waste, which starts with very simple practical, cost-effective steps which leads to an important goal of zero waste, which in turn is an important step towards sustainability. This plan offers hope, and I hope that you are part of this in the future. So I thank you very much for listening. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Mi sembra che adesso sia previsto un intervento del dirigente scolastico. Lo vuoi fare per lì?
No, adesso
No, dai, professore.
Buon pomeriggio a tutti. Io vorrei solo, evidentemente la lezione del professor Connett è convincente e credo che questo possa attivare in noi un ragionamento, un pensiero, perché tutto questo ha come la speranza, oltre per i bambini, anche per tutti noi, che la realtà sia migliore e anche più bella, no? Cioè, e questo è un compito che anche come scuola cerchiamo sempre di cercare di perseguire, perché abbiamo sempre detto e spiegato che è attraverso una comprensione della realtà e del bello che si comprendono le cose, si è invogliati a imparare. Ma se questa è una teoria, anche se è poi molto vicina alla realtà, ecco, io chiederei proprio ai ragazzi di fare delle domande e di chiedersi in che cosa noi a scuola possiamo cambiare. Qualche passo è stato detto negli anni passati, è stato già fatto con il comune, ma io credo che a tutti voi non sfugga l'osservazione di passi che possono essere ancora fatti, quindi muovendo le mani ma anche muovendo il cervello e entrando in quegli altri step che, senza arrivare alle nostre, abbiamo, c'è la strategia che deve cambiare, eccetera eccetera, ma c'è un modo, un comportamento che può cambiare a scuola. Ma io sentirei adesso da voi proprio delle domande, dei contributi, anche poi più largamente su quello che ci ha detto il professor Connett.
Se ci sono degli interventi, dei chiarimenti, delle domande, passiamo al microfono.
Partendo dall'esperienza che fate in classe,
È scolastica, appunto, come
quello che vedete,
vengono suddivisi prima di tutto qua i rifiuti.
chiediamo alle ragazze.
Chi di voi vuole dire come funziona, se avete i contenitori per separare, se lo fate? No, puoi venire, dai, vieni qua un attimo, dai. Tanto è una lezione molto informale che serve soprattutto per noi. No, noi parliamo in italiano, c'è la professoressa Romano che traduce, dai.